It's August 10th. Oh, wait, should we do the... I'll just start with WLPN, LP, Lumpin' Radio, Bridgeport. It's August 10th, 2017, and you're listening to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable.
Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.
Hello. Welcome to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I'm your host, Chris Quinn, coming to you as always from Studio B here in the Co-Prosperity Sphere. Thanks as always to Lumpin' Radio and its fearless leader, Logan Bay, for holding things down, and his minions, such as producer John, who's helping solo with Jamie on a remote. I guess we started something with our episode 100. Everyone wants to be like us now. I wanted to thank also everyone who's out there listening over the airwaves at 105.5 FM, Lumpin' Radio, or on the Lumpin' Radio app, or at or TuneIn Radio, or any of those places. And if you are listening live, you should definitely hop into the live chat room, which is tlk.io. Your body doesn't really shield the acoustics that much, but it's appreciated, Jonathan, for turning around to open up the can. It's fine. People know it's a beer show. They're going to hear beer being opened. But as I was saying, if you are listening live, hop into the live chat room. It's tlk.io/WLPN, and you can make fun of me for not being able to start the radio show on time and all sorts of other incorrect things that I'm going to say. If you are not listening live, that means you're probably listening via a podcast, and that is also awesome. Thank you very much. And if you're listening for the first time, what I like to do is give a little brief explanation of what the show is about. This is actually taken from the very first episode, Ed. I went back and was listening to episode 1 to get ready for episode 100, and I actually took this from a longer thing that I had pre-recorded about the show, which was much better and more eloquent. And I edited it down. I was like, I'll just say this every episode, and never thought about it again, but I forgot where it came from. So I've been saying this literally then every show. But at
101 times.
101, this is the 102nd time now.
Yeah, your 102nd time.
And I still have, it's still not memorized, and it's not literally in front of me. I get freaked out and get nervous. I've tried to do it, and it does not go well. So I'll just read it off the screen.
What is this show about?
Yeah, so the goal, what's the goal of this show? Is that what you're asking? Yeah. So the goal of this show is to open up a window into how the people making, selling, marketing, and facilitating the beer getting into your glass feel about the topics that are a part of their everyday lives. Many of my greatest beer experiences have been talking about beer while sharing beer with people whose opinions I respect and admire, and it's these experiences that I hope to capture with the Insiders Roundtable. And before I get to my guests, I will briefly note that everyone's opinions are their own, so don't worry if you're, hearing anyone else's opinions coming out of these people's mouths or any other entities. It's just their own. They don't represent Lumpin' Radio. They don't represent the Beer Temple, or anything like that. So I will get to my guests. I will give a little, I'll get the excuses started early. It's just been absolutely crazy for me. I think everyone here knows what it's like to open up a new business or expand a new business, and we are right at the very end of the path, and it's been crazy. So I need a little leeway. So don't jump down my throat if I don't know exactly what I'm talking about, Ed. I know that you're usually pretty ruthless.
Today, Chris, I'm going to give you a break because I know that you're under a lot of stress. You got a lot of things happening in your life. This whole pre-clips thing that's happening right now.
Oh, is that what's going on?
It's the pre-clips.
Want to hear something that sucks?
Yeah.
We have my wife and I. We're going to bring the kids down. We rented a place down in Missouri, right in the 100% path. Long time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to go now.
Yeah, I know.
They're going to
why.
have to go down. Yeah. The kids are going to go down.
The kids are going, though.
Yep.
Good. They get to see a once-in-a-lifetime amazing thing that they should be there with their poppy with.
Yep.
To experience, and then you're not going to be there. That's
what's up. Sorry, Steve.
You know what that's called?
Not once in a lifetime. Once in a many years. Just saying.
Oh, you mean the pre-clip? The eclipse only happens.
I think it's the. I think
times the eclipse, but not lifetime.
That's
we'll
true.
See it again.
You could fly to like the Congo in like 7 years and go with your family.
In life.
That's true.
And see it then.
Let's be real. For people like you and me,
we will fly to the Congo.
Well, I was okay.
And
Yeah, you're
you'll
right.
see that.
Right. That's where you
we
finished
have
my sentence for me. That's exactly where I was going.
We have really interesting friends with a lot of different interesting blimps, hydrofoils that we could borrow.
Yeah,
timeshare hydrofoil.
Well, he's not technically my friend. You're talking about.
Well, he's
anyway.
nobody's friend.
Right. That's
he's
true.
He's like
yeah.
We'll talk about him later.
Yeah, I probably. So we should start with you, Ed, since the way we introduce guests is in order of seniority, and that is not by age, but by how many times you've been on the show. And
I am the oldest person here.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's irrelevant, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I see.
It's how many times have you been on the show, and you've got everybody here added together with a multiple.
It helps that I live above Studio B. I think
exactly.
that's.
I just so we were supposed to have Carl Clockers on. He had some stuff he had to attend to last minute. So literally, all I need to do is just take a broomstick like an old lady and bang on the ceiling of Studio B.
Yeah.
And you'll be eating dinner
Morse
or watching
code.
TV.
Morse code.
Yeah.
You usually spell my name wrong too. I pronounce your Morse code as Edamar.
Yeah.
Not Edmar.
Right.
You always add that extra A.
Well, yeah, because I thought I can never get the dots and the dashes right.
Yeah, you know.
Anyway,
okay.
Well, thanks for coming on. What's new with you, man?
We know, Chris, I've been having an exciting time in the South, in the Redneck Riviera.
Yes.
Following the trail, the Kona Trail.
Okay.
Of 2016.
How so?
Where Kona went down south to check out the coconut groves and the different pineapple farms.
But he was meant south, like southern hemisphere, I thought.
Oh, I thought Quito, Florida. Is, you guys?
Is that where you were?
Yeah.
How was it?
The groves are great. I understand the allure of coconuts and pineapple and fruits, and I understand why the king wanted to corner that market pre-fruity beer hype.
Right.
So it was great to walk amongst his groves. He owns, as much as Disney owns in Florida. And it was cool to see him breaking ground on the big coconut theme park. It's going to be pretty amazing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, all coconut brews, beverages, coconut rides, coconut helicopters.
Coconut milk water slides.
Yep, coconut
where all
milk,
the water
milk,
is coconut milk.
Yeah. It's going to be pretty cool to see, you're just in the giant, lazy river of coconut milk.
What happens when that spoils? They just have to all new coconut milk.
Doesn't spoil.
And he owns the groves. Yeah. And he sells it to him.
Yeah, and he processes it.
He sells it to himself.
And then he distills that and separates the water and sells the water.
I think we've gone far enough.
It's called vertical integration.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's what all good business.
So I was there. That's why I have such a great tan right now.
Yes. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for coming on last second, Ed. I know you'll be completely prepared for everything we're going to talk about.
Absolutely, Chris.
So,
I'm reading the notes right now.
Yes. My next guest is Mr. Jonathan Fritz of Hopewell Brewing. How are you?
Hey, Chris. How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. We got to come check out your new spot that you've been teasing on this podcast for a while.
Yeah, I know.
And that was really exciting to see.
Yeah, so
I can't wait to come see your coils.
Yeah, man, that's right.
I heard about those coils.
They're in. They're gonna start blowing tomorrow. Well, two of them already are. The final one, the big one, is gonna start blowing tomorrow. We'll see if it's as quiet as. Yeah, totally that. So yeah, it's been pretty terrible. I'm not gonna lie. My gosh, I'm
but it'll be fun to see it open.
Yeah.
But we've been having a good summer at Hopewell. We're staying busy. People like to drink a lot more beer when it's hot outside, and then they drink beer again when it's cold outside. So,
and you brought a guest with you, right?
I did. I brought one of my partners, Steven.
So the deal is, Steven, that first-time guests introduce themselves. So why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Gotcha. My name's Steven. I saw that Jonathan had the podcast on the calendar for this evening, and I said, Jonathan, can I come to the podcast?
Oh, that's cool.
And he
Thanks.
said, yeah, sure. And then I think he probably emailed you, and you probably said, yeah, sure. But
I said, do I have a choice? Is I think was my answer. No, that's kidding.
Well, now I feel imposing, but
no, I'm glad. It's awesome.
no, super happy to be here. My name's Steven. I'm partners with Jonathan over at Hopewell.
And what do you do at Hopewell?
I do all of, well, it's a small business, so we all do a lot. But my background is brewing, brewing science. So I do all of the brewing and kind of operations over at Hopewell. It's a fun thing.
Cool. And last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Michael Roper of the Hopeleaf. Well, what's the full name? It's Michael and
Michael Louise's Hopeleaf Bar, but it's pretty much just
the Hopeleaf.
It's Hopeleaf.
Yeah,
We even take the out of it most of the time.
Hopeleaf.
Yep.
How are you?
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Not too riled up over the city of Chicago. or anything
I'm
like
I'm
that?
riled up about that, but I think that for purposes of this show, we should there's
Talk
some
about
cool stuff
positive
going on
stuff.
in beer.
Yeah.
The Metropolitan Tap Room little pre-opening party the other day.
Yes.
What an incredible space that is. I know I'll be spending quite a bit of time there. We had a great event a week or so ago with Frank Bone.
Yes.
That was really, really cool.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, had I not, it was supposed to be like 90 minutes, and it was more than 2 hours. And had I not said finally, like, thank you, Frank, for coming, we'd still be there.
Yeah.
Everyone was just so.
I crashed that in the last 15 minutes because I got a text from somebody saying Frank Bone is at the Hopeleaf right now, and I said, okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes. I just ran over there. I mean, that was amazing, and it's got to be, I would think, it's got to feel really nice to be able to have events like that, and that when somebody like a Frank Bone comes to Chicago, that they want to do events at your bar. I mean, that's a special type of event. What happened, and for the people out there, and you do it a lot in your kind of upstairs rooms. Often it's a more intimate space, and you'll have people come in and just really just talk,
Answer questions, talk, meet people, and it's really cool for the brewers too. I mean, they get to kind of hear what people think about their beer, and for somebody like Frank Bone who. For a while, lambic beers weren't really selling very well anywhere.
Yeah.
And, the whole style was almost ready to become extinct. And to go around the country and everywhere he goes, people are, really excited about the product he's doing. And you notice he had his 23-year-old son there who is
Yes.
being groomed to take over the tradition. So I think that was really cool, too. And I think it's really cool for his son to see all these adoring fans and drinking the beer, and we're all like, oh my God, this is so delicious. That's a really cool thing to be part of as your family. It's your family thing.
And it's nice to see an intergenerational family business is really cool. And two, I really like the interplay between where Frank and Carl were coming from, the father and son, talking to them each just a little bit after the event. It was really cool where I think Carl very much got Lambic's place in American beer geek culture more than his father did. Or maybe if he appreciated it more or wanted to react more to it. I'm not saying that Frank isn't aware of it, but he seemed to be more eager to react to it. So I just thought it was interesting how he was saying things like, just throwing out some ideas that, had us kind of going, yeah, do that, please, please. Right. So it was kind of fun to see the kind of new generation come in and some of the ideas that he had. So thank you for doing events like that.
That was great.
So let's just move right into it and talk about some beers that we've had lately that we've enjoyed or that kind of, I don't know, made us stop and pause. Or I always like to add beers that we are excited to try. So does anyone want to go ahead, jump in there first? Yay, nay?
Well, I can. It's a no-brainer right now because we have a beer that I've never had before, like 5 minutes ago, and I've actually been anxious to try it. The Allagash Brett IPA.
Yeah.
Which I have very high expectations of anything from Allagash. They don't fall down very often, and this is it met my expectations. It's very good. The bread is very subtle. So it's got some nice fresh hop character. It's got some great aroma. I could kind of drink these all day long. It's really good.
Yeah.
It is I think it's 7.1%. I would
strong?
never have guessed that.
Man, I would have guessed 5.
Yeah, it's a little dangerous that way.
Yeah.
But really, really great. And I think that this is a beer that we'll want to drink like really fresh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're going to sit around on this one because while the Brett character will probably rise, the hop character is going to fall.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll become more Brett, less IPA. For me, just I'll follow up on what you had mentioned earlier, Michael, which was the Metropolitan opening of their new tap room. I was there, and they had some really fun beers. They had their House Helles, which I think is going to be a beer that's more or less only available there. And they also had their Magnetron Schwartz beer, which I love. I'm a big fan of those kind of Schwartz beers, as the guys from Hopewell know. And it was really great. It was a delicious beer. I just think it's a style that is surprisingly good in the summer months. So just a beer that I was like, oh, it was nice to have one of those on draft. So
I have a little hand in that beer too.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, when of course Metropolitan was only like 2 blocks away from Hopeleaf, and in their very early days when they were only brewing like 2 or 3 different beers, I sat with Doug for a while and said, there's a style that nobody's brewing. And I kept bugging him about it. I said, American brewers are not brewing like a true German Schwarzbier. And I think that there's a place for it. And finally he said, yeah, all right, we're going to do it. And so, I think I pushed him a little bit in the right direction. And then it turned out really good. I mean, they knocked out of the ballpark.
So you're saying they owe the GABF medal to you, or the World Beer Cup medal? Yeah.
No, not at all.
I think you are. But anyway, do you know that Hopewell also makes a Schwartz beer? It's what's it called?
It's now on tap at Hopeleaf.
Yes.
Soon to be.
It is. It's tapped right now. So
I really like that beer as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say.
Yeah, I was actually going to use the exact same 2 beers that you used, Chris, because we were at that Metro tap room as well. But
everybody was.
In lieu of that, the other beer I've been really enjoying is Weiner Meow.
Oh, yeah.
From their Cat series.
Mm-hmm.
We just did a collaboration brew with Weiner where we'll be doing a version at our place in 100% stainless, and then they'll be doing a version at their place, all fermented in oak, 100% Brett beer.
Nice.
Which is a lot of fun, but their Meow is it's been in my fridge consistently lately.
Oh, yeah? So how much beer do you actually? Well, you got it because you did a collab. Did you buy the beer at a store?
No, I actually bought that one at a store.
Wow,
like a real person.
Wow. I mean, I would imagine. Do you do that often? Do you buy beer?
Yeah, I mean,
some do, some don't. Some.
I mean, I'm interested in. I get a really good deal on Hopewell beer.
Yes.
So I tend to drink a lot of Hopewell beer, but. I'm interested in exploring just like everybody else, and
it's funny. I'll be drinking with some brewers who are saying, "Oh, I haven't had anything other than my own beer in so long," and then there's other people who work at breweries or are brewers who are regular shoppers at the store and are here, or there a couple times a week, just trying different stuff. So it's kind of curious.
Yeah, I'll say, brewing our own beer is great, and it's a great source of finding the beers that you like. But, if you are looking for other beers, it's always exciting to try to pick the one that you haven't seen yet. Honestly, if I'm at a bar and I know every beer on the list, I'm usually going for wine just to, get a break and get some other fun beverages.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to those bars.
Wine's great.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I was at my exotic adventure, and I picked up one of my favorite exotic breweries from Norway, Toal.
Oh, yeah.
Are they Danish or are they Norwegian?
They're Danish.
Whatever. Vikings.
Yeah.
So Mr. Pink and Mr. Blue showed up. Loved it. Fantastic brews. And then their sour pales and their sour IPAs are delicious. And, I do a lot of that, too. You go out and try a lot of different beers, see what's happening, and I'm excited about this kind of slight tick in the sour IPA world. So I'm going to try to find some more, and I hope to do so at your new giant super controlled cooler where you have an entire section of sour hopped beers at the proper temperature. You going to have
Hopefully.
that? Yeah.
Hopefully. We'll see tomorrow.
But Toal, it's great. I don't get enough of it. I'm not sure how you can get more of it or where it's being brewed nowadays, but
yeah.
You know what I mean?
It just they come through Shelton Brothers, and it can be a little iffy getting their stuff, and the price is always an issue. You got it in
single cans.
Yeah, single cans. Yeah. Down in Florida, did you get it?
Yeah, in the Panhandle.
Did you really?
Oh yeah.
That's cool. So they have decent beer. I mean, last time you were joking that you were getting Not Your Father's root beer from a Sunoco station or something.
Yeah, but now they have Not Your Father's lemonade.
Oh.
A vast improvement.
Range.
Yeah.
No, there's a guy named Chin's Wine World who's got a fantastic shop.
Steven, you should go.
And he's got
wine.
he's actually got a bar. He's got a wine bar for the wine enthusiasts.
Yeah.
A craft beer bar as well. Mm-hmm. And they sell crawlers, so they could do everything there. Have a tap room.
Oh, they'll crawler for you right there.
You could take stuff to go in a crawler or a growler. You could buy stuff from their massive shop that has every beer available in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about growlers and crowlers, Michael?
Well, I'm not interested in them myself.
Right.
Like offering them. I think that it's just I sell something different. I sell like a tavern experience, and like I'm not interested in selling beer to go in 6-packs. And the beers that people would be interested in buying growlers of at Hopeleaf probably. I'd rather have them drink it in my house, and so I'm not interested in it. But I don't know whether I'm going to get all legal and say I don't want anybody to do it. There's certainly a lot of places that want to do it. I think now there's a lot of push from Whole Foods to change the law here.
Oh, really? Whole Foods wants to do it?
Oh yeah, they want to sell growlers, big time.
Why?
Because
that's what I meant. I meant not how do you feel about growlers. I meant how do you feel about retailers selling growlers, I guess, to be more specific. We've talked about this before, but probably not in a year. So we can bring out this dead, rotting corpse of a horse and beat it some more.
I don't buy beer in that format for myself.
Yeah.
I prefer bottles and cans myself.
Yeah.
That gives me some options about when I want to drink it and all that kind of stuff. But it's not a format that I particularly like personally to drink beer out of.
What do you, I mean? If the laws changed, then would you like? I mean, other than for the monetary. Well, no, holistically.
Yeah.
Mars or Hopewell. You guys, pardon me. Just you can answer that.
But we want other retail locations to be able to sell crowlers or growlers of our beer. Is that the question?
Yeah. How do you guys feel about that?
From a supplier perspective compared to that retail perspective, I think we're right on the exact same line. I mean, ultimately it's a bad package, and it's unfortunate. Hopewell, we're almost all draft. We've got one beer in package, and we love it. So it's awesome when people get to drink our other flavors, beers that we really care about. But to think that it's going in a growler and it's going wherever it's going and it's going to be warm, and oxidized and uncarbonated. You know, it's just not how the beer was designed. So
and how clean is that growler? You know, all that kind of
There are
stuff.
too many random things that could happen to that beer. That
Wait, so you're saying
could damage people's perception of that brewery, of our brewery or their brewery.
Right.
Like
so
I say, is like just sticking a piece of vinyl tube on a faucet is not the equivalent of a canning line.
I mean, we have we have close friends who we go over to their house and they're like, we got a growler of Hopewell. I'm like, dude, that was like 4 weeks ago. What are you doing? Come on. I mean, people just don't know, right? I mean, they're like, it's beer. I filled it up. I'm going to put it in the fridge.
And then they give it to your friends and they say, oh, thanks, this is great. And then they leave
So
and they
it's
say,
as
I'm never drinking it again.
Right. So as much as we want
It's
people
not
to
as sa-
enjoy more beers, if it's not the brand experience that we want, it's just doing harm to our brand.
It's not as sanitary as a real bottling line, a real canning line is going to be way more sanitary than that, putting that little plastic tube. And what happens to that plastic tube between growler fills?
See, now I already hear.
I hope Zach Rotella.
I hear Zach.
I hope
from
Zach
Rockford
Rotella
right
is
now.
listening right
Can
now.
you hear him outside the studio right now? His voice screaming.
He's on his way here.
Yeah, he's on
Zach
his
would
way
be
here.
one of the few people who would actually do a great job of dispensing that beer.
Yeah,
we could
call
say
him.
that. We
Right.
could say that. But most other people won't, Zach. They're not going to take your course. There's not going to be a kind of a team of inspectors that go to each tap room or restaurant or grocery store to ensure that the lines are clean,
That'd be a cool team.
et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool.
I mean, what we could do is if you do get the right to sell growlers or crawlers, that you have to be inspected weekly by a team
Team, weekly,
funded
daily,
by that new
hourly.
license. By that new license, if you bought a license, that license pays for the draft line inspection team. What do you think about that idea?
I think
is that a compromise?
It makes no sense because why would anyone?
business.
They don't care.
I mean,
You think the city or the state cares?
It's not the state. Maybe it's a guild function.
Oh,
I don't know.
We spend a lot of time with Hopewell for our people to be out there tasting our beer at the different bars that we pour, and it's not always ideal. Like it's happened before that we choose not to sell to a bar anymore, and it's not like we scold them and tell them that they can't have our beer, but
It tastes different when you
it
pour.
tastes
say
different if
like
it's from
sorry, but we're just not.
You mean
gonna
that
refill.
cider, that apple cider
No, wait.
flavored
So, Jonathan,
Helles lager you had?
Tell
was
me
it
the truth.
Original
You
flavor?
have done this on like you do this. You've actually done this and say, I know you want to buy this keg.
No,
I'm not
no,
gonna do
we've
it.
never,
You
we've
don't
never,
tell them.
we've never had to because
Okay.
beer sales is a product of selling it every time.
Right.
Well, that and we're self-distributed, so we're going out there, and every touch we're getting is we're actually going in there, talking to people, getting the beer in there. We have limited headspace, so if a bar's not worth it and we don't think it's representing what we're trying to do, we're all busy, so they're going to find other good beer elsewhere and be able to serve that.
So you're not going to sell. You're not taking your beer to like a VFW hall that hasn't cleaned their lines in 5 years.
Yeah.
Well,
We haven't had that come up yet, but not everyone is doing as good of a job as you are, Mike.
yeah. Well, that's a special event that we're having. You will be able to taste 5-year-old Jungle Boogie at the VFW down here in Bridgeport in a couple of weeks.
I think you should just do it. What they call it, not a vertical, but just do a tap takeover where it's the same beer on every tap.
Yeah.
And you can see how the microflora of every
develops.
tap line
Yeah.
is really.
What a great idea.
That's a great idea. You
And
should do it.
maybe throw a cider on in between it, or like some cold
a root
brew
beer.
coffee,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great
or a
idea.
delicious not your mommy's root beer.
That's great.
Lemonade.
Yeah.
I think we should mention. Yeah. You're listening to WLPN LP Chicago 105.5 FM Lumpin Radio. You wanna? Hey John, you ready to let the people know about some of the other shows that are here on Lumpin Radio? Why don't we do that? Welcome back to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I am your host, Chris Quinn. I am joined by Michael Roper, Ed Marzewski. Steven, what's your last name, or do you not?
Stephen Basu.
Basu and Jonathan.
It's just
Fritz.
Stephen, like Cher.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Steven.
Steven, I'll say
You
that.
know who that is,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah. Maybe that'll be the name of the episode. We'll call it Steven Like Cher. And we're sitting around talking about, well, a whole bunch of things. There were some beer acquisitions So the two that happened just today were one, Constellation bought Funky Buddha, and then I literally found out during the break, because I was talking with insurance brokers and stuff today, was that New Belgium, a consortium that
Includes New Belgium.
bought Magnolia.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
So this one's a wrinkle, right? Because I feel like at this point in all of this M&A, everyone has picked their sides, right? They're for these, they're against these, but this is a craft brewer, a large craft brewer, saving another beloved craft brewer from bankruptcy. I mean, that's a wrinkle, right? No one has opinions on that, right?
I have an opinion. I have an opinion on everything, and I just literally found out about it 1 minute ago.
Right.
I'm actually,
I'm
I think it's kind of, there's a positive to it because one of the partners in this acquisition is Oud Beersel. So, yeah.
Because they're buddies with.
That's
Right, so-
pretty cool.
Oud Beersel is going to partner with these, with Magnolia and New Belgium to make what they call an American lambic brewery.
Man.
So it could be pretty cool, and I think it might be really great. And Lauren Salazar at New Belgium, you can't really say anything
Knows
bad
nothing
about
about
her.
sour beer.
She is
I'll say
amazing.
that.
Wait, they make sour
Yeah.
beer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, they do.
Well, maybe they'll pick up a few things from, the Oud Beersel.
Yeah, I think it'll be great.
Yeah.
I don't have any negative things about that at all. I'm okay with it.
Well,
yeah.
Thinking about these recent acquisitions reminds me of the time when I interviewed one of my heroes in beer.
Oh yeah, who was that?
You might have heard of the man named Tony McGee.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
knew that was going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember asking him, like, Tony, with all this coin you have, why don't you open up an incubator to help other breweries grow, or do like a kind of a thing where you help other breweries? And he said, you know what? I thought about that idea. I don't think we're going to do that, but I think we have something better to do, which was
Brew pubs.
purchasing all those brew pubs, investing in all these breweries, and kind of like creating this network of Lagunitas associated breweries. It's almost like you're playing Risk, and you take over Australia,
Yeah.
and you expand into Africa or South America.
Well, instead of like saving,
you conquer them.
well, right, and well, instead of saving Magnolia
Minority
from bankruptcy,
investment
maybe
conquer.
you get in and buy their equipment for pennies on the dollar and put in a Lagunitas there. That's not true. That's
Yeah.
not true. It's not true.
But
I just
it's an
wanna say, I
interesting
was
strategy.
joking.
I mean, obviously, with this 5,000 plus operating breweries in the U.S. right now, you have these regional guys who are having a harder time growing as fast as they used to. They probably borrowed a lot of money, expecting their growth to be same double-digit growth they've had for years. And I think you have these alliances with these distribution networks, whether it's through Constellation or through the Beer Borg or through the Beer Borg sister, Little Borg, right?
Yeah.
And it's more of this is going to happen, and it further blurs the idea of what craft is and what we're doing and what's happening in beer. To most people, they won't even notice or care. Like the people who had the 4-week-old Hopewell beer in their fridge won't even know that, Goose Island is not a craft brewery or something. I mean, there's just a lot more education needs
Well, that's
to
the
go
other
on.
thing that Tony said when he was on the show, like way back. He said what they want to do is just what they said, probe for weakness. They want to see if it matters, see if does craft matter, kind of confuse the term craft, make it irrelevant, make ownership irrelevant. It's funny, he was talking about all that stuff 2 years ago. I mean, the guy is intelligent.
When he said he's from the future, he wasn't kidding.
Yeah, he wasn't.
Well, so what's the answer though? Does craft matter? Does that category matter? Because I'm kind of I know where I stand. We're a tiny craft brewery in Chicago.
Where
I
do you
get that,
stand?
Well,
Honestly, people who listen know where we stand a lot more than they know where you stand.
Well, so I think the issue is that craft brewers have spent the better part of 30 years trying to convince the world that there's bad beer out there and that there's good beer out there, and that good beer necessarily has to come from this category called craft. And we built this category and we grew it with hard work and debt and small business and the American dream, and now it's really gray out there. Now there's large banks coming in, there's private equity, there's There's large companies snatching up other companies. There's large craft breweries snatching up other craft breweries. But at the end of the day, we're still just worried about beer, right? So, to me, I think it kind of misses the point sometimes that we get so consumed about who owns who and, what's going on. Whereas, like, if there's still access to market and we're still getting good beer out to the market,
Who's we?
And that's the point, right? So
Right.
If you're concerned about consuming local and finding a good local business, yeah, this is a huge problem. If your concern is just trying to find good beer out there, there's more now than ever.
And it's
Right,
easier
right,
for the
right.
consumer to get it. And the thing is what I think is that if, like the great Satans like AB and Bev, if they were going to crush craft beer, they would have had to do it a long time ago. It's too late now because chain stores and chain bars can't not carry local craft beer. They can't do it. Otherwise, they'll lose business. I mean, if Mariano's gave up all their shelf space to AB and Miller, they would lose a lot of customers. They have to carry independent craft breweries or they lose a big chunk of the market. So I think it's too late for them to really crush independent breweries. But I think a lot of it's all about terminology too, and it's not about beer. And I look at obviously Firestone Walker sold to Mortgott, and nobody whispered about it. Everybody's like, "Oh, Mortgott, they're cool." It's like all the breweries they own are cool. They also own Boulevard, but they own Leafman's and Le Chouffe and
Ommegang.
Without eye to eye.
yeah. So
Well, I think the thing that concerns me with this is something we talked about a lot, is just the fact that these access to these distribution networks is going to be the future battle for most of us independent, self-distributed brewers. I mean, even while I was in the Redneck Riviera, I would look at the tap handles of what was available there. Sure, they had one local beer, but then they had, one bar would have Bottle Shock or whatever it's called, Top Shock.
Shock Top.
Shock Top.
Don't
And
worry,
then-
it's only been
and then
around for
Bud.
like 15 years.
Yeah, Bud, Blue Moon, like so-called,
10 years.
and then some other branded beers that I thought I never knew existed before. But these distributors become the one-stop shop to fill up your party bar on the beach
Oh,
in the
for
Panhandle. And there would be the good bars that differentiate themselves by rotating their beers with local stuff and wonderfully curated international beers as well. That will continue to hold a torch, but you could argue there weren't a lot of those bars 10 years ago, and those bars did a great service to everyone who was into craft beer. Maybe it'll go down to that level. Maybe there will only be X amount of bars that will actually serve really good beer, while the rest just take whatever is on the portfolio of your leading distributor. And people won't notice because, according to them, after all, it's what's in the glass that matters.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
But only at the end of the day.
Yeah. Not in
At
the beginning of the day.
No, at the
beginning
end of the
it
day,
matters.
if it's the end of the day,
Yeah.
then all that matters is what's in the glass.
but there's another change that's happened is like when I started in 1992, there were in the whole metropolitan area maybe 5 or 6 brew pubs or brewery tap rooms. And so now there's about 100 in the metropolitan area, and there's going to be a lot more. And not only local breweries, so we know that Ballast Point's going to open a
let's talk
brew
about
pub
that. Yep.
in Chicago.
In Chicago.
And they won't be the last. And we all know in Hyde Park, Jolly Pumpkin's going to open one.
Yep.
So out-of-state players are going to plant flags in not just in Chicago, but in New York City and in Boston and San Francisco.
All over the place.
All over the
we
place.
just talked about Lagunitas doing it elsewhere. They've already planted a huge flag here.
And they're going to do that. And what worries me is that where does that put me? It's like I don't brew my own beer. Suddenly I have like a lot of competitors that are selling fresh, delicious, great beer in lots of neighborhoods. And it definitely changes the
And
landscape.
there's a cachet to it, too, like going to the brewery, going to the source, too, for sure.
It changes the landscape for the regular beer bar or any bar, really. I mean, there's a whole new category of places to go drink. And so, when I go over to Dovetail or I go to Beguile or I go to Half Acre in the pub, I see a couple dozen people who are my were my customers drinking in there, and I don't see them as much anymore. So I think that's changed the landscape for us. And I met with Laura Blassingame last week, and
she's the owner of the Map Room.
Yes, the Map Room.
Yep.
And she said the same thing. It's like, this is changing everything about who our customers are, how often they visit, and our relationship to some of the breweries that were selling their beer, but they're also competing against us. We used to kind of feel we were a partner with them, but now we're competing with them.
Can I just comment from kind of the supplier side?
Sure.
Because this is actually something we thought about a lot, because we opened our business, we opened with a tap room. It was important for us primarily because if we're a draft only brewery, in order to get our brand
You
out
have
there
to do
for
it.
people to experience our brand, it's our space, right? People aren't seeing a package, people aren't talking
And that's
about
the same
us.
with Dovetail, as you mentioned before, for people maybe not in Chicago who don't
No,
know.
they have to do it. It's the only successful game plan.
Right, but I'll say that's exactly our biggest concern with running a tap room is we're not, what our growth of our business is making more beer and selling beer and being able to brew cool new things. And if we can't grow, we can't do that. And if we're pissing off all our retailers and people like you who run an awesome bar, that's counterproductive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that I think that is something that we'll continue to see in any state that allows any sort of on-premise at brewery is going to continue to see that as we get, what are we at, like 5,000 breweries, whatever, a billion breweries?
Basically a billion.
Even though what you're talking about is happening right now in the marketplace, it's happening a lot on the north side, for example. It would be great to get some Dovetail on draft or Hopewell on draft down on the south side. I think that there's a lot of room for those very neighborhood-specific breweries to move their beer around the city and suburbs, provide opportunities for consumers or drinkers to have that stuff. But the thing that maybe what you're not admitting is the fact that, Michael, you are the industry. You've made the retail hospitality experience for beer like blown out of the water. You are the example. Everyone rips you off in a sense.
Of course.
You know what I mean? It's like you are the model for what a person wants an experience in a pub, in a bar, restaurant. And not many people can duplicate that. So in a sense, you have a competitive advantage by being the guy who kicks butt at what you're doing. And a lot of people try, and a lot of these places have failed. It's usually a place with two names with an ampersand between them, right? And the thing is,
There's a lot of places with ampersands that are very good too.
That's true.
Yeah.
But the ones that have gone out of business are the ones that try to do what Michael's doing. But anyways, Chris, you're advancing on your opening of your new bar, your new tap room, and you're utilizing your philosophy of super fresh beer. You're going to have different temperatures serving beers at. You've differentiated yourself from much of the other bars out there, including the bars that have to pick up a local craft beer. So that competition is probably higher than it's ever been before, but you have to argue there's also a lot more people drinking this beer. The fact that these local breweries exist is definitely another thing that we could talk about later in terms of the pricing of that beer.
Well, I just wanted to add this, and then we can get to what you had to say, Jonathan. But I guarantee you this is more important because it's coming out of my mouth.
Wait, actually, if you don't mind, no, you go ahead.
No, but I mean, I think it's noteworthy to say. I was talking with, I forget who it was. It was literally yesterday. I was talking to somebody about the Hopeleaf, and they said they were in there on a Tuesday, and they were commenting to the person they were with. They said, "Damn, this place is packed. This place is jumping." So and Hopeleaf is very big. I mean, by bar standards, it's massive. It's expanded several times, and it's really, really big. So it's not like there aren't maybe other people coming in as the people who maybe aren't coming in as often are now going to Dovetail or somewhere else. Do you? Well,
he just can't see them anymore.
Right.
When they come in.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Jonathan?
One thing I was going to mention is, coming from the sales side of Hopewell, we kind of try to track our velocities at different bars. And one thing that we notice is actually the closest to our tap room a bar is, the higher the velocity tends to be. So with there
really
being 100 different breweries around Chicago, there's a lot of people that we meet on our street that have never heard of Hopewell before. And it's right there. But I mean, with the competition in breweries, that's why the tap room becomes so important, and it helps drive sales at the bars that are right next door to us. Even like our first customers, we delivered on a 2-wheel cart instead of even bothering to put it in the van because they were right next door to us, and our tap room was open then too. But I'm actually also curious for Mike. Do you think that the competition from breweries is different than the competition that you get from just regular restaurants that have added 8 draft lines?
I think both provide. It's a new thing that you can get good beer anywhere now. You can go to Whole Foods and sit in a bar and drink while you're shopping. But I do think that the real connoisseurs of beer are really appreciating the tap room. I mean, they love the tap room. It couldn't be fresher. It's a unique kind of thing that differentiates itself from a beer bar because it's that place's beer. And,
I mean, the connection to the brand is undeniable.
They're going to serve it with pride. It's going to be right. And frankly, the tap room is a business model that it's the only success story. I mean, the reason Metropolitan moved into their new location is because their old location couldn't have a tap room, and it's hard to be successful without one. And it's the same with Spiteful. Spiteful is moving into a new facility where they can have a tap room because they couldn't have one before. Without a tap room, you are economically hobbled, really.
And I was just talking with the guys at Spiteful. It was yesterday, and they're going to have 6. They're trying to figure out how many draft lines, but they're thinking 16 or more draft lines.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. So the point is, it's not like you're going to go to my point was, you're not just going to go to a brewery tap room and have the 4 core beers. You can have, they're smart. You're going to have beers that you are only going to have there. So it's going to be a unique experience, and that's something that a bar really has difficulty matching, in that you have to come here to get this beer, which for a connoisseur or beer geek or whatever you want to call it, that there's some draw to that as well.
Which I think one of the things that we have an advantage of being around for a long time and helping out some breweries in their nascent years is that some breweries, like Half Acre, actually will sell us pretty much any beer they make. So they make a lot of really small batch one-offs, and if we want them, we can get them. So doing that really is helpful, because then I do have a little leg up on other competition, and it's fine. I like that. I'm not so worried about the competition from breweries that are located here and brewing here, but I'm not happy about Ballast Point coming in, because I see them that's going to be a harbinger of things to come. So you're going to have out-of-town breweries trying to plant their flag here, and not only are they going to compete with me, but they're going to compete with you guys too. And the difference between them and you is that they have much deeper pockets than you do. So Constellation Brands is going to make sure that Ballast Point, that 23,000 square foot Ballast Point brew pub, is going to be very successful at grabbing some of your customers.
Yeah, it's going to be dope. It's in the West Loop. We've seen the space. It's amazing. I mean, I think the thing that we're kind of dancing around here, and something that Ed mentioned, is this idea that there's kind of this limited customer base, and that people coming to Hopewell means that they're not going to Hopeleaf, means they're not going to Maria's, it means they're not going to your soon-to-be beautiful bar with the beautiful cooler.
The beer and temple.
Yeah,
the beer and temple. But I think it's a mistake to think of craft beer as a zero-sum game. That ultimately beer as a category is shrinking, and we should all be alarmed by that. But that craft beer is still growing. Not as much as we wanted this year, but still growing, and there's a lot of room. And so the more, as a category, we can open it up and invite new people in, rather than being super insular and saying this is really special beer, this is only for this space, this is only for this space, being inviting and bringing people in.
I couldn't agree more.
That's better for all of us, and we will all benefit. I don't think there's a consumer out there that's going like, I can't go to Hopeleaf. I already drank a beer this week at Hopewell. That I could be wrong.
I think you're right.
Yeah, as long as the customer base. Now, do you think that we should all be alarmed by the overall decline in beer share?
Yeah, of course we should be.
Alarmed is a pretty strong word.
Well, we all make our money by selling beer here. So, yeah, I mean, we should be aware of that at the very least, if not alarmed. I mean, I don't think it's, driving our daily decisions, but to understand what the U.S. beer market is doing right now, we just sunk a lot of money into a brewery. We're in a lot of debt, thanks SBA loan. But, to think about what the industry and the beer industry in America is going to look like in 10 years, yeah, of course that affects what we're doing right now. I don't think that's going to determine what kind of cool IPA we want to make next week.
Of course. Yeah.
But understanding the broader market, might give us some insight into, what does Constellation want to do in the West Loop in Chicago? Of course, they're feeling the pressure too. They're looking for more outlets. They're looking to meet new customers that they don't currently engage with.
And what if Sierra Nevada decides to open 20 brew pubs around the country? It could happen.
Then you'd have Chris's dream of getting fresh pale ale available
yeah,
in 20 different places.
It would be fantastic in that sense, obviously. I think we also in Chicago have to be cognizant of the fact that the population of Chicago is not growing. So the growth of breweries, brew pubs, restaurants, bars, cafes is out of line with the fact that our population is really not growing. If we were in Austin, Texas, where like every week 5,000 people move there, it would be different. But we have a definite flat population, and so the growth of places has to be matched against the fact that our population isn't growing.
Well, and Chris, to your point too, I don't think maybe alarm was the wrong word, but the tradition.
Because honestly, when you said that, I thought of the 6 Viewpoints video with the Armada coming over and we're infighting and
I think the traditional view in beer or like in liquor and wine, whatever, in beverage sales is that if you're not growing, you're in trouble and you need to find every way to find every penny and grow your gross margin, right? And the business sense still is there. But, if we're able to find creative ways to find new customers, then you can throw that rule book out.
I got to say that I've never, ever thought about that. I thought about if we could sell a couple thousand barrels a year, that's enough to just keep going for forever. People live comfortably. People have good jobs. We're serving our local neighborhood. We're serving the city. If it has to go out nationally or people want it elsewhere, we'll make more as it's needed. But honestly, looking at how the market's grown over the past 5-10 years, we never had any misconception or any idea that we would be a regional brewer or grow super fast like a Revolution or whatever medium like a Half Acre. To me, it's a local place that makes beer. You happen to have some distribution. If people want that beer, you can brew more if you want. If you don't, you better hope people are coming to your place, right?
That's a smart business plan.
That's
You look at all the breweries that are around 15,000 barrels right now, and they just put in capacity to get to 100,000, and you're wondering, all right, where's that 100,000 coming from?
Speaking of that, on a much bigger basis, I am thinking right now that both Sierra Nevada and New Belgium are having buyer's remorse for opening those breweries in Asheville.
Absolutely.
Neither of them needed that capacity.
Yep.
And both of them, they started planning those breweries like 5 or 6 years ago when everything looked like it was going to be beautiful for them. And they're fantastic facilities, but they don't need them. And in fact, they are causing a little bit of economic stress for both breweries in that they're not, they would have had to double their sales to make that worthwhile. Sierra Nevada already had a 1 million barrel capacity brewery in Chico that is one of the most beautiful breweries in the world. So they built another one that they didn't need, and New Belgium did the same thing. And
almost started an arms race.
Yeah. And now what do they do with those breweries? The growth isn't going to come. That perpetual growth model does not exist. I mean, Hopeleaf, we peaked in 2014, and we had a big drop in 2015, and then we've kind of been like coasting. And we're still very happy with the business we have. But I had to put my businessman cap on because I've had to learn how to make money with flat business, because it's very easy to even be a crappy business person when you're selling 15 or 25% more every year. It's when you've been in business for 25 years, you cannot expect that every year is going to be your record breaker. And so I think that a lot of breweries are having this, sudden, wake-up call, because the growth that they perhaps planned 4 or 5 years ago is not going to happen. And some of them made some, what I think, probably foolish decisions. And it's not just here. 2 years ago, I went to Belgium, and I'm going to Belgium in a few weeks. Von Hanselbroek, a brewery that makes Castile beers, built a absolutely enormous new brewery. I mean, a brewery that would be large by Lagunitas standards. And are that many people going to be drinking Castile beer to make that worthwhile? I don't think so. It's great beer, it's good and everything, but I think that people got into a building frenzy.
Yep.
And they saw all the other people building. They kept reading the Wall Street Journal saying, oh, my God, 35% gains this year. And they didn't stop and think. And now they are stopping and thinking, like, what did I do? Built a lot of debt.
They better start making some Belgian lemonade.
Yeah.
No, but that's a big point. I think it's pretty amazing that you brought that up. I'm glad that you brought that up about those two breweries having an overcapacity. Maybe they are wishing they didn't do that.
I think it's about time we take a musical break. Producer
You better
John,
play something good, John.
yeah,
Or else.
yeah.
No, the chat
He usually
room's gonna
does.
break out.
He usually does. Watch the dump button. Ed's fired up. Welcome back to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I am your host, Chris Quinn, and I am joined by Jonathan Fritz, Steven, Mike Scher, Ed Marzewski, and Michael Roper. Thanks for sticking around, guys. We were having some heated conversation, some good conversation during the break. And I think this may continue down that path. We're having a bit of a theme, and believe it or not, I've mentioned we have an outline of topics that I send out ahead of time to
I did read
people.
it.
Thank you, and also sorry for not getting to as much, but we still have plenty of time.
Yeah.
But one of the things we like to do is read letters, and sometimes those are handwritten letters, and sometimes those are electronically written letters, and that's what this one was. It was sent to insiders@craftbeertemple.com, but you can also send us a letter if you want to the Co-Prosperity Sphere here in Bridgeport, Chicago. The address is 3219 South Morgan Street, Chicago, Illinois 60608, and you can just send it to Ed's attention. That'll ensure I never get it, as there have been some letters that have been lost, Ed, and people blame you. I'm just saying.
That's my job.
Yeah, to take blame.
I take all the blame. It's my fault.
Good. I've gotten emails from people saying, like, hey, man, I sent you, like, I took the time to write a letter. It's the first letter I've written in, like, other than a bill in years. Why didn't you read it? And I never got it, so I'm sorry. But I promise if you guys send a letter and I do get it, I will read it. The last letter we read was from Hawaii. It was amazing. So, but anyway, this letter comes from Pete, and it was sent to insiders@craftbeertemple.com, and he is essentially asking why brewery tap rooms are so expensive. So let me read what Pete had to say. He said, Chris, I've got kind of a simple but loaded question I'd be interested to hear tackled on the show. How do you try new beer? This question stemmed from my initial question that probably has an actual answer, which is, when did, quote, own premise become so high priced? Actually, I actually don't know. I know it was after 2011 when I had my first mini beercation. At that point, I drank at places like Three Floyds and Bell's with draft beers as low as $4. Actually, Three Floyds is arguably still the best place to try beer in the Chicagoland market with numerous $5 Imperial pints as well as food service. The independent beer scene is currently full of tap rooms that charge 50 cents to over $1 per ounce for their own beers before tip. It has become increasingly popular to not offer samples or flights. Some have just made the flight expensive enough to make no sense in ordering it. Why does beer cost more at a brewery's tap room than it does on a shelf at a liquor store? I'm actually curious. I can't explain this concept to rational people who aren't deep into the, quote, craft beer scene, end quote. These tap rooms aren't spots for dinner, nightlife, or even entertainment. They're primarily just a place to drink beer from that brewery. With that in mind, why does the price of that beer increase? It is their own beer. Pete. All right. Well, thank you, Pete, for writing the letter. I appreciate it. Pete's written us a bunch of good letters, so I wanted to throw it out there. I thought we had a good panel here to answer that question or address that question.
I'd tackle it.
All right. Why don't you start?
So, of course, I don't brew beer, but I know that a lot of breweries do not want to undercut their retail partners. So if they sell beer for less than what I can sell the beer for and stay open, I get a little, maybe I'm less likely to carry their beer. So I think that they are trying to be friendly toward their retail partners by not undercutting them. Years ago, when Larry Bell opened his retail operation behind the Eccentric Cafe, he was selling six-packs for $2 or $3 less than anyone else could afford to do it and make it worthwhile. And so all the beer stores in town said, I don't really need to carry your beer anymore because we're a small town and somebody would drive, another 10 minutes to save $2 or $3. So that's basically the concept about that. But also by charging at their location, they charge a premium. It's the freshest beer possible. And by charging a premium there and making that a profit center for the brewery, that allows them to keep their prices down otherwise. So maybe I can still buy a half barrel of their beer for $160 and sell it for $5 or $6 a pint and still make money on it. Had they not done that at their own location, maybe they would be tempted to raise that keg price to $185. So it comes out in the wash. I appreciate it when a brew pub does not undercut me and make me kind of look bad as like I'm gouging because I'm charging so much more than they are. There are some breweries that pioneered in this. Many years ago I went out to Chico and the Sierra Nevada Brew Pub. It's fantastic. They charge significantly more than a bar a mile away. But that means that bar a mile away, doesn't feel like they're being undercut by their brewing partner.
Your story about Bell's reminded me of kind of a counterexample at New Glarus, where at their bottle shop, at their brewery, they have signage saying there are cheaper versions of the exact same six-pack available at local shops in the town. Them. And they might even list some. I'm not sure they do. I don't remember. But I thought it was interesting saying you can buy this beer for less money in the town. Go get it if you want.
Support our partners.
Right,
they're the ones that help us out. And that's great.
All right. So now to the suppliers, as they like to call themselves. Why are you guys so greedy?
That's a fair question. Why don't I just tackle that?
No. I mean, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I'll make one point. Is that I completely agree with your point that it's not in our interest to raise our prices undercut our prices to make your prices look bad. But the flip side of that is that likely we can't raise our prices. We've priced where we are because that's what makes sense for our business. I mean, I know we make the beer there, but it's still not free. We pay for malt. We pay for labor. We pay for utilities. So even though
Real estate.
yeah, and so operating a bar means staffing a bar and paying for a place where people will come to a bar rather than building a warehouse out in the middle of nowhere. And it means licensing that bar and keeping the lights on and paying people. So I don't like the assumption that we could be charging less. I think we try to price as best we can, and it kind of turns out we're right in line with most of the places in our neighborhood.
I think what Pete was saying here is that the cost of your pint costs significantly less than it costs Michael Roper to pour the pint, which I think is, he may not understand why. It doesn't make sense to him, so why is it? So I think, and I think that is it's a fair question for to ask. Is there anything you would like to add, Ed or Jonathan, or no? Ed, I mean, you have the most expensive keg prices, so
yeah, we have the most the most expensive prices for anything that we do because it's worth it. Yeah, I think about what we're going to price our beers as we head towards opening up our tap room in the next few months. I like both models, like the Bell's model and the New Glarus model. We'll probably hit somewhere in the middle and wind up doing the Hopewell model. But the thing is, a lot of people don't know that when you price a beer in a keg and you're selling it to a retailer or a bar or a shop or whatever, there is not much markup on that draft beer. There's not much markup on the beer that you're selling in packaged good form either. And you kind of have to set your margins so you stay in business. And if you don't, you're out of business. I mean,
that doesn't help anybody.
No, and I was just joking to Michael, like when you mentioned that there are a lot of bad businessmen out there who just kind of became successful because of the growth of the craft beer market. And I'm like, that's me. I'm the most successful failure and bad businessman on earth. And I've been riding that wave. But I remember the point when we were selling our kegs, trying to be competitive to the price of like Lagunitas, Half Acre, etc. And after all was said and done, you look at the figures like, oh, we're going to close in 1 month because we can't even cover our basic costs of our labor and ingredient costs and our material costs. So what is the price going to be so we can maybe break even? And we set the price at that level. And that's just the way it is. If you don't price the beer based on what your expenses are, you ain't going to be in business.
Because you don't have the economy of scale of Lagunitas.
No.
Not even close.
No. And, even like doing canning, for example, you guys did some contract brewing up in Wisconsin. That wasn't a very cheap thing to do. You had to ship it back down here, you just sell it. When we're doing some mobile canning right now, and the price per can is obscene. And you're just like, what is the point of doing anything in cans? Like, why even do this? So you have to price things so that you can at least break even, make a few bucks to maybe buy your own canning machine someday or lease one. But it's a very difficult game for small brewers. People do not understand how difficult it is to pay your bills, make a living, create a relatively good quality of life for everyone involved, people working there. It's really hard. It's very tough. So when we have the most expensive draft beer pricing in the city of Chicago, which we won't, but if we do, it's only because that's what we need to raise at our tap room.
Well, and I think echoing on what Ed's saying, the quality of life for people who work at your company. There's a lot more that goes into pricing your keg than how much the malt costs. The malt and hops. The employees are one of our biggest expenses, and that's who gives you a good experience at the tap room. Yeah. So similar to what Michael's paying for out of his margins, it's the same thing we're paying for, so that people hopefully have a really good experience at our tap room. And so it's not just like, there's this much cost of actual ingredients in the beer. That's not the most relevant number.
Which is what most people just say, well, I'm buying this beer at a store, and that store is probably making 3 times cost. they have no idea.
No.
You know, the margins at stores are really cheap, but they don't. There's things like I just paid my property taxes, $56,000. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, that's a
That's a big number.
That's a big number.
a big
A
number.
lot of thousands.
And I have to pay it. You know,
Yeah.
I can't not pay
That's the taxes.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So people don't understand these things.
Yeah, and that's
usually.
something that I'm
And also, I want to just interject
Yes,
here because
yes.
people don't know that chain stores, the Costco's, the Walgreens, the Targets, they're not marking their beer up at the same margin that the mom and pop shops are doing it. And sometimes they even demand better pricing that all these other independent shops have to pay, right? Otherwise, they're not going to carry your stuff. So if you're playing that, I want to go above 5,000, 10,000 barrels, you're going to play games with them. You're going to give them some marketing money to help subsidize that lower cost for your kegs, your draft, your cases, etc. So, and these are things that no one cares about. Everyone just wants the Walmart experience of the cheapest stuff with a really nice, wonderful $2 pair of flip flops next to their XYZ 6-pack.
something that with this pricing on premise, off premise pricing, and taproom pricing that we've been thinking about quite a bit is all of us at the shop, because we're going to have, you're going to be able to go into the bottle shop and buy and drink it in the bar, but we're obviously not going to let people buy 6-packs of Anti-Hero and just crack them themselves. First of all, that's illegal in the bar, but we're not going to open it for them and hand it to them, and because we would quickly go out of business, So, we're just talking about only how are we going to charge for beers that you bring into the bar, how are we then going to communicate why it is that way? And it's something that we've talked about a lot. What's up?
Well, I have experiences with that over at Maria's. We've been selling beer for 30 some odd years. And my first thing is to laugh and go, well, you know what, Chris? Back in the day when you only had macro beer, you could sell that bottle of Bud for $1.50 and buy your 6-pack for $6.50. And it was about the same price, Yeah. And that's how they loved it. That's how they liked it. But the reality is, you just go, look, it's the law. Like, this is a to-go thing. We're not serving you. We're not servicing you. We're not paying for overhead for the people working here, et cetera. You'll figure it out. No one's going to complain. No one's going to care. People get it.
We'll see.
Well, and there's actually another spot in the city, Beer Miscuous, that does that. And I don't remember the exact numbers, but they have a to keep it here price and a to go price.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. And people, I think when people see that, they say, that's bogus, man. Why that same beer costs you the same amount, and if I stand here while I drink it, or if I stand on the sidewalk and get arrested while I drink it, it's two different prices.
It's an expensive beer if you get arrested.
True. Well, if I sit in my car with the keys,
if I drive my car.
Yeah.
However, I do remember going to some
also a bad example.
4 o'clock bars where I had to buy a 6-pack of Busch Light for $15.
Right.
And they put 6 single cans in a plastic bag, and that was the only place to get beer.
Because they gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, like in Italy, cafes traditionally charged you, if you want, you're walking up to a counter and you're having your espresso just because you need a hit. That costs you one thing, but the second you sit in a chair, it doubles in cost. So they charge you a different price. It's the exact same drink, but they're providing a space, and you're using that space, and so everybody understands it. It's like I want to sit down and read the paper or talk to my friends, so I'm going to pay more. I just want a hit of caffeine, and then I'm running out the door. I'm paying less.
Yeah.
Maybe American coffee shops that are experiencing the co-working space phenomena should start doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're gonna go with the corkage fee model. So there's gonna be a corkage fee for stuff, and it's going to be dependent on how much that beer costs.
Yeah.
So you look at it.
Yeah, you'll
you
do that.
on there.
You're going to do that
fee.
for about a month.
And then do what?
What everyone else does.
Which is what?
To mark their beer up based on the formula of marking your beer up when you sell it on premise.
We've done maybe 50 or 60 different examples of it, and it averages out to we have 3 tiers of corkage fee.
Oh well, if you have a 3-tier corkage fee,
have a
thing,
3-tier
already
there.
All right, you're fine.
I had no idea.
No, You didn't explain the 3 tiers, Chris.
So
Just imagine someone thinking about this for months. Just imagine that.
I see that person.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You're charging
Yeah,
less
I feel
for
really
the,
bad
the,
for them.
the seat that's next to the restroom, and then the nice seat next to the window. You charge more for that one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Chris, as someone who lives in your neighborhood of your bar, can I propose? You were in Philly. Did you ever go to Hawthorne's?
Yes, absolutely.
They didn't charge any more than the regular 6-pack price.
I think you should do that.
They ended up burning down before they shut down from having poor business model.
Who burned it down?
But yeah,
right.
But for me as a consumer, I'd really love it if you just didn't charge any more.
Right. No, I mean it's insane.
Well,
Oh yeah, I
Chris,
went there and I drank all
if you're
night and I
truly
spent
gonna be
$9.99.
If you're truly going to be an innovator, okay, you should.
Who said I wanted to be an
You
innovator?
should set up a Patreon like membership program, where to become a member of the Beer Temple or like a social club. You have a monthly dues or annual dues, and you get to go into the bar and drink anything you want.
Your cash is no good here.
Yeah, you just drink until you're full, and you get to leave. What do you think? Like $10 a month?
Sounds highly legal.
Hey, Ed, that's less than $1 a day.
That's
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah.
less than a cup of coffee.
In fact, I might as well segue. Like, listen here, listener out
Yeah.
there driving on I-55 right now. Lumpen Radio has actually set up a membership program for you to participate in. You should consider that. It'll be cheaper than joining Chris's membership programming at the Beer Temple.
That's not a bad idea. Let me call you to action.
Yeah.
To sign up. Oh,
You're
wait, no,
allowed-
never mind.
He's
Never
allowed
mind.
to do it for your own station.
Are you?
Yeah, you can have a call to action for your own station.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, thank God the dump button wasn't
Yeah.
used this time. But Chris, it's a pretty intense question. It's having a slashy is really difficult. It does cause some cognitive dissonance for your customers,
Yeah.
and you could easily explain that to them. It'll be fine, especially the easy to explain 3-tier pricing, corkage fee.
I would so much rather be in your bar drinking a nice beer than in my living room drinking a nice beer.
you have a nice
Or what if
living
you
room.
bought it
I'd
to
have
go
a
have
brand
a
new
draft
couch.
and want to pop it open? You can. It's just going to cost you, $4 or $5 or $6.
As long as you're not drinking it in your car.
Right. No, you don't want
Hey, this is not Texas. Come on,
Thank
Roper.
God. Thank God for that.
So, unless there was something you wanted to say, you adjusted
It's the same
mic.
same points we've all been making.
Okay,
I mean,
that's fine.
there's a reason that we go to the Hopeleaf instead of me drinking at home with my dog.
Yeah, right.
Or the parking lot of the White Castles.
or the parking lot of the White Castles for breakfast.
So the one, which is one of the first things we were going to talk about was so Jeff Allworth was on the show recently.
Handsome man.
Yeah, one of my favorite beer writers, been around for quite a while. Was a little put off by how openly sycophantic I was when he came on, and I said, I know it sounds like I'm buttering up. He's like, it does, and I'm not sure where you're going to go here, but anyway, he's been putting out some really good stuff on his blog, the Beervana blog, lately, and he says that he feels that to him the way the state of beer is right now, that he owes it to everybody to be, just not to blow smoke and just to kind of be honest. And he says there's some breweries that he thinks are just not performing well, and he's not going to he's like, all right, I think these are problems that are going on right now. But I'm not going to talk about that kind of line of work that he's writing about right now. It's this latest story that he wrote, which was just called Trust Your Judgment, I believe. And yeah, Trust Your Judgment. And it was something that I hear this. So this show is meant to be kind of the industry folks sitting around at a bar talking about stuff. And one of the things that happens so much is people talking about ratings and the highest rated beers and all that sort of thing. And
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean,
Right,
I
right.
never mentioned that Jungle Boogie is one of the highest rated wheat beers in the world.
Never mentioned that.
No.
Are there
No.
platforms to crowdsource and rate beers?
there are
Somebody should have told us that before
Yeah.
we opened a brewery.
Facebook.
Oh, it's Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook.com.
So essentially, what he's saying is groupthink has taken over craft beer to a greater extent than it really should, and that there are influencers who are saying a very limited number of beers are the best beers, and that because of that, everyone who then rates those beers doesn't trust their own judgments, to kind of use the name of the post, and just rates it good no matter what, because this is the best beer, so I should rate it as the best beer, not because it's the best beer I've ever actually tasted or what it actually tastes like. Does it matter? No, I'm having the best beer. This is amazing. I'm going to mark it a 5 and show everyone what a great time I'm having, because they can all see that I'm having.
And how knowledgeable that person is.
How the beer I'm drinking is better than yours. Look, I've rated it 5 bottle caps.
Yeah.
Yours is only
3.5 bottle
3.5 bottle caps.
And who is the guy who chewed that bottle cap in half?
Right. I think he said Massachusetts has 110 breweries, give or take, and non-New Englanders have probably heard of maybe 10 of them. 2 in particular, Treehouse and Trillium, blot out the sun among the geeks. Of the top-rated beers in Massachusetts on Beer Advocate, you have to go to the 36th beer to find one not made by those 2, that being Treehouse or Trillium. And it's just, that's absurd. That's absurd. In my mind, that's absurd, and I think in Jeff's mind that is too. And he's saying there's a lot of great beer out there that is probably being underrepresented, in the same fashion that these beers, which are legitimately good, again, shielding your body doesn't really help. Just do it right into the mic.
I won't cover my cough then.
Okay, yeah, please don't.
But also a lot of styles get unrepresented. You look at the 50
Misrepresented.
best or unrepresented. Look at every year. Draft Magazine, Beer Advocate puts out like the 50 best beers of the year, and how many of them are imperial stouts, bourbon barrel aged beers, and how many of them are lagers or pilsners? Almost none are lagers or pilsners. Almost none are like American pale ales. They tend to be high alcohol, dark, strong, bourbon barrel aged beers.
Or double IPAs.
Double IPAs that are, so there's this like incredible out of balance representation in these lists and these ratings, that usually the left out beers are those that are made with a lot of skill and a lot of subtlety. And frankly, I think some of the beers that are never on these lists are actually the real best beers of the year. And I think this is another thing we were talking off the air about, is that we should take some cues from the wine world, because the numbers thing. So Wine Advocate says this Barolo is 92 and that one's 88. And who are the arbiters of this taste? A very few people who have their own distinct flavor profiles that they like, and they may not be mine, and they may not be yours, and they may not even be right. Really drink the beer yourself and tell you whether you like it.
Yeah, I thought it was the gist of the article. Is again, trust your judgment, and there's plenty of great beer out there. And when you go to, the one that stands out in my mind is the Rate Beer Awards, where you have a whole bunch of people going out there, and what happens is you have the best new breweries of the year for every state. So you have all these like hyped new breweries, and then you have 5 brewers who look like Michael Phelps times 2. Just like covered. So you'll have like a picture of Nick Floyd with like 75 medals on his neck every year, and it's like it's honestly, all right. To tell you the truth, it was that caused Ed and I and some other people to come up with the idea of our mock award show.
Yeah,
because we're like, this is a joke.
We have that
it's
trophy
an
on
absolute
display.
joke.
Hopewell.
You have your award on display?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
It's like a beauty
Excellent.
contest. It's like
Right.
really Miss America pageant for beers, and And I really am tired of it. I think that America has become obsessed with lists. The 20 best restaurants, the 5 best cheeses. It's like, get over it.
I want to know about those cheeses, though.
Right.
No,
and it's always
can
subjective
I ask you
things.
guys, do you guys keep up? Do you guys check these sites? The beer sites, Yelp. Do you keep up with those?
I used to probably my first year and a half. I have not looked at my ratings in quite a while.
I don't look at the ratings for me, but occasionally I use these sites for just basic information. I'm tapping something, and the sales guy didn't tell me what the ABV was, so I'll go and rate beer.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I use it for.
Yeah.
Oh, I look up the other ones for info.
ABV. Yeah. I remember going to one of those websites, and a new brewery opened up, and I started reading the reviews, and they were all like first or second time posters giving 5-star or perfect
I wonder
reviews.
who those people were.
Yeah, and I'm like, these guys have a lot of good friends.
Yeah,
It's their
I
dad.
follow the app with the bottle caps.
Untapped, yeah.
Are we allowed to name brands?
Yeah.
I follow Untapped as a way to track when our beers are being tapped because it's tough to know when you sell a bar beer if it's going to get tapped that week or in 4 weeks. So it's a really easy way for a tiny brewery like us to know when that beer got tapped. Mm-hmm. And as a side note, I got one of our best reviews that I've ever seen. It's for our new beer, Dirt Party, which is an India Pale Lager. The review's one word. It just says trend setting. 3 bottle caps.
No.
Beautiful.
You didn't say it was a good trend.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
You said a mediocre trend.
We have fun reading them,
trend.
but for us, it's a good way to just see where's it pouring right now because people do engage on Untapped.
I think
it's
Untapped
got a
is
huge amount of users.
It's huge, and it's very valuable, and it's just a very good snapshot into what the people who are. Yeah, it's funny. I used to see just a certain type of person opening up their phone and getting onto Beer Advocate or something like that. Beer Advocate or Rate Beer, but it's such a wider level of like beer geekery or just casual drinkers who uses Untapped, which I think is really valuable. But I'm also seeing even that less and less at the shop. I used to joke that I should set up in fact, I got in a lot of trouble one time on Yelp when I was checking that stuff because I joked that I should put up a Beer Temple kiosk, or not a Beer Advocate kiosk in the store. So it's just set there so you can always, like at a library, just check everything. Because people would just go, like, stand in front of a beer, look it up, like, shuffle to the left, look it up, shuffle to the left. And as I was making that joke, somebody was in there doing it. Unbeknownst to me, I couldn't see their phone. Just blasted me on Yelp, or his wife blasted me on Yelp, and I was like, oh my God. Now, all right, I'm not going to make fun of anybody ever again. That lasted about a day.
At least not out of the studio.
Yeah.
There's an interesting sidelight to this, though. So there are certain breweries in town, especially, that I cannot sample their beer before I order it. So I will sometimes with great trepidation say, okay, we'll take a half barrel of this beer. And so I tap it, and the social media turns south on this beer. So no one is drinking it because the social media turned against it. And, it's like, oh my God, I bought the wrong beer, And
But do you like that? How have you noticed how you feel about the beer?
Many times it's a beer that is either not super interesting, it's well made but kind of boring, but people are attacking it as being bad, and then it takes me forever to sell that keg through because people are actually walking into the bar and they see this on my menu and then they look it up and it's rated 2 stars or whatever, and I'm not going to drink that. And so it has this incredible dampening effect of my sales. So it's made me now, unless I really trust a brewery, I am very reticent about tapping something that I haven't tried because I'm terrified that social media will have already turned against that beer by the time I tap it, and nobody will drink it. It's weird.
That's insane, man.
Can I say it's just so passe of them to be using bottle caps? Can they get like can tabs or something at this point?
Yeah.
Just
But
to,
I mean,
be more
you guys
representative.
have to look at that stuff and see how things are doing. And I mean, do you not do it anymore, or you have to?
I consider myself more on the brewing side. That's like what I do. I stay away from those. I literally do. If something bad comes up, and they do, we get trashed, whatever. Someone will let me know. Someone nice like Jonathan who actually reads them and keeps up. But to his point, that's like literally the best use we get out of these is we see where our beer is pouring, or we see where our friend's beer is pouring. We know we can go there and like try that beer that we want to try.
Have you had? Do you feel that there's a correlation to how happy you guys are with the beer when you send it out to market, and how it's rated?
No, there's literally no correlation.
Now, do you have a correlation between
there
how
is a
it
correlation
moves?
with it generally moves worse if it's higher rated. So some of our beers.
Wait, are you joking?
No, I'm serious.
That's nuts.
No, like the beers that get high ratings, like Michael was saying, are the ones that people don't want to drink a lot of, like the more unique ones, and the beers that you only want one of, or
12%
just a sample
alcohol.
of. Yeah, and we're not making a lot of those. We have a fairly small sample size. We've only been open about a year and a half, but the beers that get the highest ratings don't tend to be our best sellers, or the beers that we talk to people in our bar, and they really love.
That's so funny. So the exact opposite of
for us, at least.
Yeah,
And
right. No, but
and
that's
that's just
amazing
for us. But
I've gotten stuck with some beers, and there have been a few beers that were they definitely were disappointing to me, but they weren't terrible. They were just maybe not as interesting as they could be. And after 3 weeks of trying to sell them, I just dump them.
Now, what about how about beers that were just uninteresting, uninspiring, or maybe let's go beyond it, just not very good, that maybe was the same thing, you didn't have a chance to try it before you put it on, where you've seen it just fly through. Have you ever maybe thought that was because of positive social media rating beer sites, stuff like that?
I've had some mediocre beers that sold better than they should have, and sometimes it inevitably it's because it's from a brewery that right now is hot.
Right, like a Mars or something.
You can sell anything that they anything they give me. I mean, they dump the urinals into the beer keg, and
that was
sell
our
it.
urine princess beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen very
I
often.
tried that one.
I mean, after 25
limited.
years, we've gotten pretty smart about buying beer, so these things don't happen that often anymore. But it has happened, and social media did change beer, the beer audience forever. It's changed restaurants. I mean, we serve food too. These same kind of judgments are certainly made about our restaurant service. And that's just the way that it is now. The business is totally different than when I started working as a waiter in 1972. And
I remember that.
and it's not.
You were very handsome then, as you are now.
And I can't even recognize the business today.
Yeah. Well, aren't you interested in what I have to say about this, Chris, or are you just going to move on?
I was going to ask, First of all,
I have nothing to say about it.
Oh, no, but do you follow your ratings?
I do check it once in a while, but not frequently. I mean, the rating sites are, it's like so weird. It's so bizarro. We have no idea what's up. We just trust our own judgment on whether or not we like the beer and want to release it. When our whole thing is if the beer turned out bad, we would just dump the beer. We would just dump anything that wasn't good. And we did it a few times. And then beers that we think we're like, wow, this is awesome, but no one's going to get it, no one's going to care, and no one's going to buy it because it's like $12 or $13 for 500 milliliter. It's gone in a day.
Like, do you have an example of
Potions that grew up, barrel aged grew
I
it.
I was hoping you were going to say that.
So, like,
beer.
we didn't think anyone would even care about it. And then it just
Potion number 5 it was called?
Potion number 1.
Potion number 1, sorry.
And then it was just like gone. I don't even have.
I'm thinking Love Potion number 5. Or that's number 9. Never mind.
Number 9.
Love Potion number 9 was actually a grisette made with the urine cakes that were kind of like funneled into this interesting coconut technology.
Potion number 1 was...
Yeah. Love Potion number 9, though. Jeez, don't drink that one.
Don't drink that.
But anyways, Potion number 1, we were like, no one understands what this beer is. No one's going to buy it.
And describe the beer.
It's a gruit made with all kinds of crazy elderberries and weird
heather, cinnamon, and
just nutty stuff put into these. I don't know if it was French oak barrels. I forgot.
And absinthe as well.
And the absinthe barrels from Leatherby.
Yeah.
And anyways, 6-8 months came out. Didn't blend it. Just put it in the bottle. It was incredible.
It was amazing.
But it's just a weird beer. We're like, no one's going to buy this. I don't even have a bottle of it.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
It was so good. We tried to buy as much as we possibly could.
But those are the things like gruits are not in the top 50 beer styles.
Absinthe barrel-aged
Absinthe barrel-aged gruit. Yeah.
We only bought one case because this is going to be
a dog.
An abomination.
A double IPA gruit.
But that's the thing. Like we tasted it. We're like, wow. Hopefully people believe us. Tom just put out an email saying, hey, this is what's available. If you want it, go for it. And it was gone. And it was like a disappointment to not even have saved a bottle of a barrel-aged.
Yep. We got to re-up. We got to re-up.
But I do look at the ratings sometimes, and I always look at my own ratings. Like, man, I'm rating the Mars beers really well this week. Man, I think I'm going to go to 4.5 on this one.
Right.
I've checked in 10 times.
I don't want to look like a homer.
Yeah, I checked in 10 times on this one beer.
Exactly.
Yeah. But, I think it's a very valuable service. It's very important for bar owners and people working in the bars to be able to check the beer if they don't know anything about the beer. But one of the things I wanted to bring up as a waiter, for a veteran waiter, that if you had a really good beer that you liked that the masses didn't like, you would hand sell that beer. It'd be gone like that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So you're able to do that. Bartenders are able to direct the consumer or customer to a beer that they really like. And it's very important, as you know, young man, Jonathan, to have the bartenders and beer buyers be your advocate sometimes for these beers that you're putting out there. So I think what matters most at a retail location, Chris, when you're putting down your notes for your 3-tier corking system, is that your bartenders have to be advocates of the beers that you're all selling. So you can't be the ultimate authority anymore. Because you know what? Half your bartenders hate gruits, man. They're not going to sell it. All right?
Well, they're fired.
Yeah. All right. You hear that, Steven?
Hear that,
and I got
Steven?
your shirt, buddy.
Yeah.
Chris messed up.
Yeah. If you were in the know, you would know that I am so far removed from all that stuff, sadly, right now.
I know.
They all run the show. Speaking of this show,
but you still
John
you still drink beer, though, right?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
Occasionally. John is about to crack the whip. Get me out of here. Next show's coming on. This guy's brutal.
You got 7 minutes, John. What are you doing? You're just
right.
cutting this show off.
No,
like
he
this.
just likes to. He'd prefer that I got out after 1 hour.
Is he just giving you like the hand signals?
Yeah,
underneath the table,
giving you the hook.
Yeah, yeah.
I saw that. I saw a little groping going on.
No, not at all. John would never do that.
Twice.
But I wanted to thank my guests. You're listening to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I would remind you, if you haven't noticed in the past hour 45 or so, I'm your host, Chris Quinn, and it's been my pleasure to have my guests this evening, Michael Roper of Hopeleaf, Ed Marzewski, Steven, and Jonathan Fritz.
Steven.
Stefan.
Well, Chris, this show you have here is
John. Even just that was like,
John
okay,
just rounded up.
Let's go, guys. Come on, I'm done with this.
And one more thing.
And what was the thing that you're supposed to say at the end of your show?
What am I? What,
yeah, exactly.
A catchphrase.
What am I?
What am I?
I'm
Why am I
today.
here?
I'm
a hoppy brown ale today.
Exactly, and then I dance around the studio.
Yeah, you can't see that, but it looks great. You're doing that one move again.
Yep. Oh, hold on. Okay, let me get back in the seat. So let's have some. If there's any final words, anything people would like to say before we get out of here, now would be a great time. I will remind people, no direct calls to action unless it's for Lumpen Radio. Jonathan, do you want to go first? Stefan just pushed the mic directly towards you.
Well, thanks for having us on, Chris.
Oh, you're welcome.
We've got an exciting rest of our year at Hopewell. We're actually going to be releasing our collaboration beer with Weiner. I'm not going to tell you have to try it,
but if you wanted to try
it, I'll tell you if you want to try it. We're actually releasing it as part of an event we do every year. I can say every year now that this is our second year doing it to support Open Books, which is a literacy nonprofit.
Oh, cool!
So August 26th, we are having a back-to-school bash at our tap room in Logan Square, Chicago.
Cool. That sounds like a lot of fun. And you and I should let you know, if you don't already know, that Tim Heidecker and Neil Hamburger are coming to town, I think, in October. So I'll talk about that later.
So Neil Hamburger and Tim Heidecker are coming to Hopewell?
They're coming to town. They're coming to town.
I can't wait till you bring them to Hopewell, Chris.
That would be great. That's the man right there. Is the man.
I'll bring him.
Do it.
I'll bring him over.
Ed is good friends with both of them. Ed, any final words for you?
You know, Chris, I just want to say I want to thank everyone out there who drinks our beer. We appreciate your support over the past few years, and we're looking forward to opening our pad in a couple months. And please stay tuned here for your secret invitation to our opening party.
Ooh, that's great. I will say, now that Tim Heidecker is on my mind, it was a very interesting experience to be sitting with you in the Vic, being waved up onto the stage and then back, and then everybody backstage. You just wandering around the basement of the Vic like you know everyone. You ate. You went into the Tim Heidecker's fridge, started eating his hummus. Drinking his beers, and then Tim came up to me and was like, "Oh, hey, what's up, man? How's it going?"
Yeah.
But anyway,
green room etiquette, Chris.
Green room etiquette. Act like you've been there before. Act like you've been there before.
It's all yours, baby.
Yeah. And
although I will
Mr.
say
Roper,
it was awkward running into Eric in the bathroom, the very cramped bathroom.
He's a big boy,
and it was like, "Hey, man. Hey, what's up, Edmar?
Yeah,
I'm just taking a piss. I just took one. See you later, buddy."
Well, they like that awkward humor stuff. So.
Yeah.
Michael, anything for you?
Well, I'd like to just wish you good luck because you are going through your task force walkthrough, and I have been through this several times as I've expanded and I've opened up a couple businesses and stuff, and I know how nerve-wracking it is and how much you've invested of your, your hours and time and fortune and everything in this. So I'm going to just wish you good luck, and hopefully everything will go very smoothly. You'll get the right inspectors on the right day, and they're going to be in a good mood, and maybe the sun will be shining. They'll say, I think this is a beautiful place, and I think it should open tomorrow. That's what I wish for you.
Man, thank you. Hallelujah. It's funny, Metro's Tap Room and us have the task force coming on the same day. We're blocks from each other, so it's going to be the same. So we already agreed, whoever gets them first, am I allowed to say this? We're going to all right, make sure they really hated this and they really were on us about this. So you've got 20 minutes. Get it fixed.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
On. What are friends for? Guys, thank you all so much, everyone who has come on. Thanks, everyone out there who has listened. I got a really lovely text about some new listeners that we got because of word of mouth. I like to say that word of mouth is the best way to spread
it's a great
the
app.
word.
I love that app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
WR. There's no vowels. Word.
WRDFMTH.
Yeah. So I'm about to get cut off by John, but I will say, if you know someone who loves beer and think would like this show, let them know about it and say, hey, you should listen to it, and then hopefully they'll dig it. If you don't know anyone who likes beer, well, first of all, I'm sorry, and second of all, you can always go on iTunes and rate us there. But thanks so much, guys. we will see you next week, hopefully next week, with more of the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. Might have something else going on.
Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again, 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 again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again, 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 again.